Welcome back everyone, it's Charlie. This is going to be my new Batman video. I'll be talking all about Batman Beyond, the original movie, and the new one that they're talking about doing with Michael Keaton's character. There have even been some reports about Warner Brothers' plans for their backup Batman should Michael Keaton decide to back out of the project before they're able to make the Flash movie. So if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. We'll do a new Amazon giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and let me know what you want them to do with Michael Keaton's Batman in a Batman Beyond movie. So just starting with number 5, if you missed the news the last week or you're not sure why everyone is suddenly posting Batman Beyond all over the place and Michael Keaton pictures, it's because the whole idea of bringing Michael Keaton back as a much older version of his 1989 Tim Burton Batman is for him to be a mentor to the younger characters. Now short term, that's the DCEU Justice League characters like the Flash. So he's not replacing the Ben Affleck Batman, they're not retconning him or anything like that. He's a Batman from the multiverse. The websites that were reporting this last week, like The Wrap, Deadline, Variety, Hollywood Reporter, didn't really clarify some of those details, so a lot of people were confused about how they're going to handle this. The whole idea is that he would be a Batman from the multiverse from his Tim Burton 1989 film. We'll call it the Burtonverse. And because the Flash character is all about the multiverse and completely messing with the timeline, he does something that puts him line of sight with Michael Keaton's Batman, like accidentally phasing to his Earth and winding up in his Batcave. Then he gets his help with the events of the movie. We don't know the entire plot of the film because it's going to be a different version than the comic book Flashpoint, but you can theory craft about that all you want in the comments. The way we get to Batman Beyond is because they said that Keaton is coming back for multiple films, multiple crossovers. Some of them will be cameos, some of them will be bigger roles down the road. And obviously when you talk about older versions of Batman mentoring younger characters, that is literally the story of Batman Beyond. It's just that the Flashpoint movie is the first movie that he would appear in, and they're going to start filming that early next year. So number 4, the news reports didn't list every single movie that Warner Brothers wants to put his older Batman in, except for the Batgirl movie. Almost everybody mentioned this, which apparently they're still planning on making. He would be a mentor to a version of a Barbara Gordon Batgirl, but because she's not a character who spends a lot of time traveling the multiverse, her stories are more like straight up Batman stories, noir detective thrillers, adventure serials. They haven't really clarified where her Batgirl would come from, where it would be set in the timeline, and how that's going to work, because I don't think they're going to spend a lot of time de-aging Keaton's Batman unless it's for flashbacks to explain what he's been doing since the events of Batman Returns. Recently on Kevin Smith's podcast, he and his co-host were talking about the possibility of the Batgirl movie being a version of a Batman Beyond story. I think that was mostly them talking about him mentoring a younger version of a Bat family character. But it wouldn't be Batgirl taking Terry McGinnis's place. She wouldn't be wearing the Batman Beyond batsuit, and the movie would still be called Batgirl. This will make a little more sense when you consider what the overarching plan for the Batman IP is at Warner Brothers, because you have a lot of different versions of Batman flying around now. During that podcast, they also mentioned that part of the idea is the new Keaton storyline will somewhat retcon some of the events of Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, the Schumacher films. Maybe not completely, but since Michael Keaton left after Batman Returns and now he's coming back, it just makes his timeline a lot simpler and a lot easier to follow if they say that the Schumacher Batman films took place in another universe. So they're not totally retconning everything. Remember, this is the multiverse, so it all happened, just some of it happened in another universe. It's not that big a deal, it just depends on how connected you think that those sequels were to Keaton's Batman films, because Michael Goff's Alfred was the one who stayed on for all those, so he kind of connects those films, but I think it's easier to say that those just took place in alternate universes. So number 3, the actual idea is that eventually they get Keaton to do a full-blown live-action Batman Beyond movie down the road, and it would be a straight-up telling of the comic book story. A young Terry McGinnis discovers the Batcave, learns Bruce Wayne's secret after he's too old and physically broken to wear the suit effectively, and the movie takes place in the present day of the Tim Burton Batman universe. Then under the guise of working for Bruce Wayne as his assistant, just takes the mantle of the Bat and wears the suit while old Bruce Wayne, Keaton's Batman, sits in the Batcave calling the shots and teaching him the ways of the Force. But in terms of timing, it doesn't sound like they plan on making either that Batgirl movie or the Batman Beyond movie until Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson's The Batman Trilogy has already released at least one of the sequels. Everyone went so crazy when Keaton was announced last week that I think the Batman 2021 movie kind of got lost in all the news. Like, how are they going to handle all these different versions of Batman? Which one is the main version? A couple days after the Keaton Batman news broke, there were a couple follow-up reports that said that the grand plan for the Batman IP is that the studio is considering Robert Pattinson is the main version of Batman, so to speak. The Batman movie with Matt Reeves is their big crown jewel franchise where most of their attention is going. So he's going to get most of the limelight for the next couple of years while they go through that new Batman trilogy. All the Michael Keaton Batman cameos and crossovers during that same time are just meant to be the icing on the cake, like really, really cool, deep-cut Easter eggs that broaden the DC movie universe and the multiverse in really cool ways. So think about Tom Welling during Crisis on Infinite Earths. Everybody heard that his Superman was coming back, but we didn't know what they were going to do with the character. He was really only on screen for a little while, so I'm thinking that's going to be a little bit the way they treat the Keaton Batman character in some of his upcoming movies. Like, he'll do some really cool stuff, but he's not going to be on screen for quite as much as people expect him to be. In number 2, speaking of which, next cool Batman Easter egg is recently some of those same reporters from last week have been talking about the version of the Batsuit that Keaton's Batman would have in present day during the Flashpoint movie. No one seems to know whether or not he's actually going to be wearing it, but all the reports are saying that he'll have a modified version of a Kingdom Come Batman suit with the exoskeleton that helps him walk. Keaton always said that he never liked the rubber batsuits that he wore back during his days as Batman, so I think Warner Brothers is just trying to find a way for him to be Batman and even show up in a Batman costume without actually having to put on a physical Batman costume, and that is exactly how Robert Downey Jr. becomes Iron Man in the newer Marvel movies. Most of the time, he doesn't wear the suit at all on screen. He'll do it for some camera references every once in a while, but most of the time he just walks around with dots on him, and they'll put the Iron Man suit on him in post-production. So imagine a fully CG version of a Kingdom Come Batman suit on Keaton during this Flashpoint movie. They kind of did a practical version of that with Kevin Conroy's Batman during Crisis on Infinite Earths. He was a version of a Batman Beyond Batman, but also Kingdom Come with the harness. They even did a special featurette of him talking about the suit and coming back. It was actually really cool because it was Kevin Conroy finally doing live-action Batman.
The point of this exoskeleton is to support his body because he's been so beaten and broken that he would not be able to stand up without it. And then they turn it on, and I go, no, I never thought I'd get a chance to do it on camera because I was getting older and older and older. I was sort of aging out of Batman, you know. But luckily, I aged into old Bruce Wayne.
As cool as that was, just to be clear, Keaton's old Batman would probably be very different from Crisis on Infinite Earths Batman. I don't think they're going to go that dark with Keaton's Batman. It was revealed during that episode that Crisis Batman had killed all of his major villains and kept trophies from his kills, and had also killed his version of Superman. Just crazy dark story. But number 1, taking things back to the original Batman Beyond movie. So if you haven't watched that in a while, it's basically the return of the Joker, because the Joker, within the context of that series, died a long time ago, or seemingly died. It was revealed that before he died, though, he Jokerizes Tim Drake, implants a chip in his brain that allows him to take over his consciousness in the distant future, effectively allowing the Joker to come back to life in the future timeline of Batman Beyond. But if you've never read any of those Batman Beyond stories, there's an ongoing comic book. Most of the modern Batman films in the comics are represented in some futuristic iteration. An adult Damian Wayne is still alive. He eventually becomes the new Demon's Head after Ra's al Ghul perma-dies and gets super pissed when he finds out that Terry McGinnis has taken the mantle of the Bat from his father. He and Bruce Wayne are estranged. They haven't talked to each other in years. The older version of Dick Grayson Nightwing has moved back to Bloodhaven. He's still trying to do what he can there. Barbara Gordon is now the new police commissioner, just like her father. And for the most part, it feels like a Batman movie done as if it were a Blade Runner movie. So when you're thinking about the look and the feel of a live-action Batman Beyond movie, just think the Blade Runner movies. And apparently right now the rumor that's going around is that Warner Brothers' contingency for their other backup Batman, if Michael Keaton chooses to back out before they make the project, is actually going to Christian Bale to get him to come back as an older Batman. Obviously, he's not quite as old as Keaton's Batman, and I don't know if they would also try to get him to come back for live-action Batman Beyond, because he's not quite old enough for that. So everyone, let me know in the comments, what do you also think about the idea of them trying to get Christian Bale's Batman to come back? He said that he'd never come back. He said that he was kind of done with the Batman character, even though there was a brief period where he said that he and Christopher Nolan almost did a 4th Batman movie, but the reason why he left was because Christopher Nolan was the first person to say that he didn't want to do another Batman movie. That's when Christian Bale also backed out. There'll be a whole bunch of Batman news at this big DC Fandome Comic-Con panel happening this summer, mostly for the Robert Pattinson and Matt Reeves Batman movie, but I'll do as many videos as I can for all that stuff. Leave all your requests in the comments below, too. Everyone click here for my new Michael Keaton Batman video, and click here for that new trailer for The Boys Season 2. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe. I'll see you guys tonight.